Okay, it's right on the hour. I'm excited to get started with our Be Your Own Therapist uh, weekly get together. It's quite a highlight for me. And Shayla, so nice to have you along as our host from Tuk Norbuling. Really lovely. And welcome to everyone from uh, across the world. So, Costa Rica, America, Australia. How fantastic. Yeah, so we've been meeting weekly to kind of check in and then try and look at the world and our life with Dharma eyes, because it's very easy to look at the world and what's happening around us or what's happening to us and be horrified, or if things happen to be going fairly well that day, to think, as my good friend Venerable Cartson said, oh, perhaps samsara is going to turn out okay after all. So it just takes a few days for us to realize that ain't going to happen. But nevertheless, still, it's actually only when we have problems that we're really galvanized to do something. So that is one of the good things about problems, that we can use the momentum of them, the horror of them, the shock of them to propel us into using our Dharma eyes, because there's a real incentive there, isn't there? Because often things are horrible. Um, and using our Dharma eyes, then, in fact, the problems can become a source of wisdom. And because problems are so uncomfortable, we don't like them, they're not a nice experience, that incentive that we have to get over them, we can use that incentive instead of trying to run and hide, or instead of raging at the world. We can use that feeling, that incentive, to propel our practice, to propel us towards developing our wisdom and our good-heartedness and our empathy with others. Of course, it takes effort, but I have just found, like in my own experience, that my mind becomes very, very focused when I have problems, and I don't have to bring my mind back to the topic; it's just there on the topic, fixated. So our task is to try and look at things with a different heart and a different eyes. So let's just do a really short motivation, breathing meditation and motivation to get started, so we can focus ourselves in the best possible way. Adjusting your posture, nice straight spine. Then relaxing your body. As you breathe in, straighten your posture. As you breathe out, relax your body. And becoming present in the room where you are, feeling grounded, how you're supported by the earth right there where you're sitting. And while the whole world may be busy around you, for these few minutes, here we are sitting quietly. And so the same with our mind. While it might be a maelstrom inside our mind, for these few minutes, we can just anchor our attention on our breath, leisurely breathing in and out. And no need to follow all the whirlwind of thoughts. Just leave them there on the periphery. And while we're enjoying sitting here quietly, we can really appreciate how fortunate we are to have this window of opportunity. So many people don't. We're really lucky just to have this, to be able to meet together. So let's take the essence of this and use it for the highest possible goal, more than just to make our life bearable, more than just to have a happy or good life, but to take the essence of our life, to develop all of our qualities to their utmost, to dismantle and remove all of our negativities, to reveal our natural purity, and nothing less than to become fully awakened or enlightened, so we can perfectly benefit everyone around us. So have the courage to set this as our motivation. And then in that spaciousness and that good-heartedness and determination, let the essential points of this week come to mind. Not just the events, but the inner theme, perhaps the ongoing questions, or the characteristics that you're working on trying to develop. Try and connect with where you are on your own spiritual journey. And what are the things coming up, the next few steps? So hopefully some of you have some things that have immediately come to mind that you'd like to bring along and see if we can apply our Dharma wisdom to them. So how's everyone going? Who's got something to share?
I will.
Oh, good, Susan.
Well, I wanted to thank you from the first night, week before last, when you said a solution, the solution actually, is to keep your mandala intact inside, no matter what circumstances are happening. And that really stuck with me. And then the next night I did a green Tara meditation, and that sort of green light just stuck with me as that's my mandala, and I have to keep it intact. And that has helped through some unbelievably shocking moments here.
Uh-huh.
The US Supreme Court just legalized racial profiling, for instance, after people fought so hard for civil rights, in the 60s. I mean, all the way back. Anyway, that it just helps to have, okay, so what is your center of strength now that everything is destabilizing around
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, that's right. That it's a dangerous time in history, like history
Yeah.
comes in waves.
Mm.
And of course, we're usually just aware of our own period in history. Uh, we have to have a chance for some education to be able to see where we fit in the whole scheme of things, and how, yeah, we're the beneficiaries of years and years of hard work of others for human rights, to benefit others. And what, largely, like, with me, I'm largely oblivious of it until there's the threat of it being taken away, and then you start kind of appreciating, oh my gosh, this was hard fought for. And my good life uh, is thanks to the kindness of others. Pretty much, that's it. And so to not let the kindness of others go to waste, uh, all of that effort, that's part of how to develop bodhicitta, to really recognize how we're a beneficiary of other sentient beings, and then just naturally we don't want their efforts to go to waste. And not only that, that we just naturally want to repay the kindness. So number one, how we can repay the kindness is to continue to develop and support a world that we want to live in. But I suppose from a Buddhist point of view, we have to have a vision of that world. And the Buddhist point of view has the vision of a perfect world, of a world that is free of fault, that is free of karma and delusion and all of the results of karma and delusion. So we have to really have a very clear vision if that's what we want to bring forth. So this is where there is a limitation with politics. So politics and civil rights and everything does a huge amount on the ground to help people immediately. And then there is this great vision, a utopian future, or a society that we are wishing for. But if it's just based in the ordinary view, then it's going to have ordinary limitations. So our task is to base it in the pure view, in an enlightened view, which is different from a utopia, because it's not just a wishful thinking fantasy. It's based in a really solid understanding of reality, of the nature of our mind, the nature of phenomena, and what is possible. So, like His Holiness says, it's based in mind science, evidence based. And so, because of that, then we can have really strong perseverance and conviction, because it's based in mind science rather than just a wish. So having a wish for a good society is good. It's not enough, is it? And when we see everything collapsing around us, then we get disconsolate and tired and burnt out, and we give up. Because if it's just based on a wish, it's not enough. It's got to be backed up with the wisdom. So, Susan, what you were saying about the Tara's mandala, that's like the experience of that wisdom. So we place ourselves in Tara's mandala at Tara's feet. In the Tara Puja, there's those special verses where we cling to Tara's toes. We're bowing down and Tara's amazing toes, that are so beautiful and expressive, like Lama Zopa Rinpoche drew in that picture. And so, without even daring to look up, we're clinging to Tara's toes, like, please look after our holy gurus' long lives. Please save sentient beings. Please, help us along the path, rain down all of the blessings and the wisdoms, all of this, and everything else. Please save our civil society. Please, look after everyone that's working for sentient beings. We can do that. We place ourselves in Tara's mandala. And the thing about Tara's mandala, that's the experience of it, but it's backed up with Buddhist science. Because who is Tara really? Tara is our innate wisdom, and it's the accomplishing energy of all the Buddhas. So that's what we're placing ourselves in, that environment. So I'm really happy to hear that you found an experiential kind of refuge there, Susan, and that you can, it's the refuge that can keep on giving. The more you investigate it and learn about it and practice it, the more it's going to be there. It's not going to dissolve, and it won't kind of run out. So a bit of a ramble there, but the thing about our world is that, in a way, you can think all of the goodness that is happening is like an expression of enlightened mind. It's an expression of great compassion and great kindness, expressed, of Chenrezig's great compassion and great kindness expressed through sentient beings. It's like Chenrezig is working through sentient beings. And then it gets obstacled. and it gets obstacled by all of the delusions of sentient beings, all of um, the hatred and the fear and the anxiety and the selfishness and all of that short-term thinking. Sentient beings obstacle themselves. And the terrible thing is that in the short term, it looks like things are going to work out, or if we're aggressive towards others, we're going to get what we want. And in the short term, we do, but not in the long term. And it takes quite presence of mind to look at things in the long term. I remember His Holiness the Dalai Lama was talking about, he had a conversation with the late Queen. I think it was, sorry, the Queen Mum, because she'd seen two centuries, and he asked her, "Do you think things are getting better or they're getting worse?" And and she said, "Undoubtedly they're getting better." Because really, when you look at it, when you look at the big scheme of things, from in the European Dark Ages where we just lived in mud and were indentured serfs, and there was just raping and pillaging and no education, you know, from there to now um, we have sewage systems, we have clean water, we have education. Undoubtedly, things are getting better. Not for everybody, but undoubtedly it's there. So we can continue to bring about benefit for sentient beings like that. It's just in the short term, I think, where we look. And yes, there are danger zones for sure. Danger times, times of danger where we got to be really vigilant. But the only way that we can be vigilant is if we're vigilant first with our own emotions and motivation, because it's very easy to be reactive, especially with politics. And the moment we see ourselves being reactive, it's like a red flag, because all of our solutions have to encompass everybody, even the aggressors. And of course, the thing with aggressors is that they thrive on conflict. They get stronger with conflict. So our task is really quite hard because we've got to get right underneath to what are the root causes of conflict, which is usually feeling alienated, ripped off, alone, all of those things. So we've got to really get to our common humanity and our underneath all of that conflict. So I think, the things like the four immeasurables, prayer, may all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. Right there, it helps us. It's like that's our rallying cry. And then there's the solution. May they never be separated from the happiness that has no suffering. So that's our goal. We've got to clearly have it in our mind, or we won't get there. And may they abide in equanimity, free of attachment for some, aversion towards others. That's all we need, really. That is your rallying cry. You have a long bumper sticker, but you could have four of them. So does that make any sense, Susan? What else do you have to add?
That makes absolute sense, Miffi. Everything you said, it's very helpful. Thank you. You explained it. You really nailed it. Thank you so much.
What about who else? Shayla, you were saying that you've had an interesting week.
Been an interesting week. My son shocked me. Um he he celebrated the death of Mr. Kirk, and that was a shocker. And I was thinking, oh heavens, I did have to say, we don't celebrate the death of anyone. It doesn't matter who, you
I
know.
know that's a terrible
Yeah.
unfortunate thing. So I remember when it was Saddam Hussein who was shot, and there was great jubilation and rejoicing. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche was saying, rejoicing over the death of anybody, it's like it's a horrendous negative karma. Because what we've forgotten right there is that everybody has Buddha nature. And so rejoicing at the death of someone is incredibly ignorant, and what it does is it obstacles our own mind, because right there we've cut ourselves off from our own humanity, just on an ordinary level. From our own humanity we've cut ourselves off. His son witnessed that. Can you imagine the pain and suffering that caused? How can you rejoice at that, regardless of what side you're on? But also we lose our bodhicitta motivation, our altruism, just on an ordinary day-to-day level, we lose our altruism. But I also think what's there is that it's unexamined. It's an unexamined feeling, because if we dive in deeply, anyone who rejoices at the death of a foe, it's a mixed bag. Because really, on a good day, if you sat down and talked to that person, what they're really rejoicing about is the death or the end of something they disagree with, or something that is abhorrent, not the death or end of a human being. So there's two things in there. But our ordinary view and the ordinary world sees human beings and what they do and their views as one, mixes them up. And so, of course, when they die, you rejoice. It makes a perverted kind of sense if you don't understand the nature of human beings. So on one hand, for your son, you can encourage him to delve deeper into what he's rejoicing about, what he's glad has ended, what he's fighting against actually, bigotry, racism, all of that twisty, convoluted illogic. The real nature of propaganda. Propaganda works on the really smart people because it's nothing to do with logic and reason. It goes straight to emotions. And when you come to emotions, there is nothing reasonable about them. So what we're seeing in the world, we have our emotional responses to things, and then we come and we put our justifications on top of it to explain it. Actually, we can just make it much more simple. We can just go, here's my emotional response. I just want all of the bad things gone. And then don't layer anything else on top of it. So, wanting all the bad things gone, that's great. It's a really basic kind of feeling. But then we've got to use our innate human intelligence to analyze, well, how are we going to get the bad things gone? And as we know, if you take somebody's life, you shoot them, you make them a martyr. It's like cutting the head off the hydra, isn't it? It gives it strength. So it's not a very smart way to work at things. And as we can see from the enormous response, it's like exponential. And the rejoicing, you could probably go, oh, well, at least one negativity is stopped in its tracks, but it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. Someone has to lose their life, that someone who's loved has to lose their life for this to happen. So what I do, this is why I like sci-fi, right? Because what sci-fi does, books, movies, whatever, it takes you out of the ordinary view. So if me and Mr. Kirk were on a spaceship that crashed on Mars and we were the only two people and there was a horde of Martians there, now who's going to be my friend? It's all contextual. It's like fellow human being. all the little disagreements that we have doesn't matter. We both speak the same language. We both understand each other's body language. We're both human beings. We understand the whole context. We're together. Even in Australia, you probably have in Utah too, I'm not sure, but in Australia, huge deserts, and every now and again someone gets lost in the desert. Now, if you find another human being, you're just like, fantastic. You don't care what political views that human being has because what you're relating to is the humanity. So we recognize that when we're taken out of context, out of our normal context. And so that's what we've got to do right now with politics, is see it like that.
I had one friend who instantly said he was my mother, and that was such a beautiful and then I just kept what I keep going through in my mind is, you know, even as a child, we celebrated the death of the Wicked Witch of the West, in The Wizard of Oz. We celebrated actually the death of the East and the West. We and so yeah, it's such an interesting is it, yeah, it's to me, I've been letting that kind of mull in my mind, we
It's a
in
good example though, Shayla, especially with like the Wicked Witch of the West. We celebrated her death and she melted away. So she dissolved into emptiness, actually. So there's a little kernel in there. And the Good Witch, she's in a bubble also, like in a rainbow bubble, rainbow light. So also in the nature of emptiness. But then human civilization progressed a couple of years and we get Wicked, the musical, which has a whole nother take on the backstory. So it can be done, right? It could be done as a musical, which is even better. Nim and Ifisha, you've put your hand up. What do you have to say?
Yeah, it's Nim here.
Nim, hi.
Hi, this is a technical question, right? Now, my understanding is that to create some kind of karma, you have to have the intention and you have to have the object, and then you have to go through doing the action, and then the other person has to die or whatever, and then you have to rejoice, right?
Yeah, that's the
So
completion.
if you're
Yeah.
only doing the rejoicing, but you haven't done the other parts, it's an incomplete karma, right?
Yeah, which means you are actually accumulating a partial karma of killing a human being. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's
And
not
that
a full
means,
karma.
yeah. So that means that karma can't be a throwing karma, but it can bring the result.
Yeah. So it's not going to be a throwing karma that throws you into an actual rebirth, but it's going to be what's called a ripening karma, which means it's going to influence the type of rebirth the type of life you have within that rebirth. So if we
So
rejoice
so
at the death of somebody else, at the killing of somebody else, we are sharing in that karma. And so it's not a full, complete
yeah.
karmic action, but what it will do is influence the type of life that we have. So, for instance, we have a rebirth, it might be a great rebirth, but we're continuously afflicted with really painful diseases. Or we have a rebirth
Right.
that might be a fairly good rebirth, but we're continuously attacked, continuously in fear of our life. Or we have a fairly good rebirth and we get good heart and everything, but we're forced into a situation where we have to fight and kill others and we have no choice. So yeah,
Right.
that's
And
the
and
part of the
and, and shorter lifespan as well.
sorry.
And shorter lifespan?
Yeah, Yeah, having our life prematurely shortened. So they're all the
Okay.
kind of the results of not a complete full karma, but that influence the type of life that we lead. I mean, the karma of killing with a mind of hatred just throws us straight into the hells. Because really, what happens, the way I kind of think about it, is that then psychologically, when we die, if that seed ripens, um, that feeling, that psychology of taking the life of others, it goes back on us. It rebounds back on us continuously. So we're thrown into a state of continuous, a hellish state, imprisoned by our own hatred. And because we're no longer protected by this human life that kind of puts some soft kind of barriers between it, now suddenly we're propelled into a rebirth that perfectly matches that state of mind. So we can experience hellish states as human beings, but it's not being in the hells. It's a hellish state, and we've got some kind of respite. But once this body falls away, and there's nothing protecting us, then straight away the next body we take is one that perfectly matches that hellish state. And then we're just stuck, because it's a compounding thing. Because when you're in that hellish state, the most likely thing that you're going to do is retaliate, is to compound it, is to make it worse. So that's why those hellish states last for so long, because they just get tighter and tighter and tighter. So yeah, the karmic results of rejoicing in negativities of others, including especially the death of others, they're astronomical. The other thing to remember, though, is that equally, and this is why Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, to rejoice at the virtues of others all the time, because that also astronomically multiplies it. So while we're here, you kind of in horror at the nature of samsara, recognize it, that yeah, this is what happens in samsara when we follow the ignorant mind. But equally, there are so many holy beings doing extraordinary things. If we just let our mind alight on those for a while, at the great works of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, with those 10 magnificent books that they put out with His Holiness and Venerable Thupten Chodron, just, and all the work that went into that, all the volunteers at Dharma centers, uh, all the pujas being led, all the 21 Tara praises being done for Nepal, like all of this, you just think, wow, despite everything, sentient beings are benefiting others. And we have our precious holy gurus manifesting here in human form to help us. How amazing. You just let your mind sit on that. How amazing. Rejoice in their efforts. Rejoice in your own efforts, and you do it again and again. So instead of being traumatized by looking at what's happening in samsara again and again, you rejoice. So it's like in in the martial arts movies, and or the action movies, and say the car goes over the cliff and you see it in slow motion, and then you see it from the other angle, and then you see it from the bottom, and then it crashes, and then you see it again, and it takes like 10 minutes because they're showing it again and again. So that's how you rejoice, right? You do it again and again. You do it in slow motion. You do it from all the different angles. You have a big bang. You go, wow, 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 over and over. So that's going to rebalance things for you.
Thank you.
It's the best way to make mountains of merit without actually even having to do anything, is just by rejoicing. It seems almost like we're cheating, but this is harnessing the power of karma. It really is. and you know, we all like to have a shortcut. Rejoicing is a shortcut. It's a shortcut to so many things, but especially to make this positive store of merit, you know. What else? Who's BR? Does BR have anything to say? Or Steph or Stacy? Oh, Shayla can't hear. Hello.
Oh, sorry,
Steph, go for it. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, this is the first time I've come to this, so I don't really know what to say. But yeah, I guess like I was just thinking about like why I came. I came because I was in Cambodia for a few weeks. I came back last week and I was just really inspired by the people there and just how beautiful they are. And there's the Buddhist temple is just around from my house. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look into that. And just be more like that, I guess. Like what you were saying, Susan, like there's some stuff. I don't know if you guys hear about what happens in Australia, but there's some pretty upsetting stuff happening. I find it upsetting. But yeah, like you were saying as well. Is it Miffi?
Yeah.
Yeah, just being thankful for the lovely people around me doing good things and yeah, trying to keep doing the same myself.
Yeah, well, that's right. You create your own culture. So,
Mm, mm,
you know, and it just takes a few people to create a culture and then it spreads. So, you know, you're in Cambodia, you feel the difference of, say, being in a Buddhist country, and there's a real difference there. It's a different shared worldview. And so that's not like something top down. That comes from people,
mm,
just a few people, and it yeah, can make a huge difference.
mm. And then it's
Uh,
contagious. We were like that as well. There was a group of us that came over from Australia and it like infected us as well. And we were like, wow, yeah, it's really lovely.
yeah. So it's kind of like stepping into the mandala of Cambodia, and it's different. It's a different worldview.
Mm,
And just rejoicing about that, all the good things about that culture, and how when we're in a conducive conditions, peaceful conditions, how it
mm,
inspires us, how
mhm,
it makes it easier for us to be virtuous. So, um, you know, as opposed to, say, when we're in a combative culture, it just makes it easier for us to be combative.
mm,
How influenced we are by our surroundings. So Geshe Zopa talked a lot about this when he was here last, about conducive conditions. And as beginners, we really need conducive conditions that support us, that wake up our good qualities. Because we're quite weak, we're like little toddlers, we just fall over so easily. So we need encouraging hands. We need encouragement, not to be yelled at or beaten. You know, we've had enough of that already and enough hard knocks. So to try and find a place or a group of people, an environment that really supports virtue, that supports good-heartedness and wisdom, all of those things that result in long-term benefit. We have to find that. And that's like stepping into that mandala, stepping into Tara's mandala. Uh, then, as we get stronger, as we learn to pick ourselves up again and we don't just kind of flail around on the floor and give up, you know, as we our own virtue becomes stronger, our own determination to help others and to retrain our mind to become stronger, then there comes a time where when we're in combative situation, really adverse circumstances, that becomes the support for our practice. So no longer does it overwhelm us, but it galvanizes us even more to help sentient beings. So many of the lamas are like this. Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche threw themselves into helping crazy Westerners, the drugged up hippies and the inappropriate behavior, crazy behavior, all of that kind of thing. They threw themselves into it because they galvanized them. Many of the great saints pray to be born in the hells so that they can help the hell beings, because it's just so obvious. The suffering there is so obvious. The delusion is so obvious, and the need is so great. This can only happen when we're strong. So Lama Yeshe also said, to be a Dharma practitioner, you've got to be strong. You have to be mentally strong. So first, you've got to get yourself mentally strong. Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed. So you can see how there's kind of different stages of the Dharma path. When we're beginners, we really need to be encouraged and supported, and encouraged in virtue. And we have to have the feeling of what it's like to be virtuous and how good it feels to help others. And it's only when we have that good feeling and we see how it nourishes us through the ups and downs, that then we've got the energy and the strength to sustain us, that then when we find ourselves in really difficult situations, again, we're galvanized to virtue. If we're thrown in the deep end, or if we find our culture around us becoming, quite horrific, what are we going to do? We don't feel ready. We don't feel strong enough. To keep ourselves safe, then we've got to spend extra time on our motivation and make sure that we're not partisan, that we're there to benefit all sentient beings, not just the goodies. All sentient beings, not just the victims. Because on the scale of things, it's victims and perpetrators now, but karmically, just like Nim was pointing out, karmically, next go round, the victims will be the perpetrators and the perpetrators will be the victims. And we'll see them, and now we'll be for those ones. And then next go round, it just goes around and around. So once we see this cycle, it's got to be for everybody. Everybody's somewhere on that spectrum, coming up or going down. So we've got to really work on being non-partisan. Doesn't mean that then it means everybody's the same or needs to be treated the same. We just have to have the same care for everybody. But politically, we can see how some groups of people, because they're thinking, oh, we're all the same, then conventionally we're all the same. No, we're not. Conventionally, some are powerful and some are not. We've got to be very clear what we're all the same in. We're all the same in needing care. We're all the same, and we don't want to be frightened. We want to have a good life, but we're not all the same in opportunities or power or kind-heartedness. No. So when we come from this point of view of non-partisanship, caring for everybody, really setting our motivation like that, being very, very careful, using those four immeasurable thoughts, then we can call out negativity for what it is. So then we can hold people accountable. Then we can say, start unpicking the difference between, destructive political views and just disgruntled people, and actually call it out for what it is. Call racism out for what it is, racism. But we can't do it with partisanship, or we just fall straight into the trap. So it's quite a big task, isn't it? Step Like, we've got to get strong. We've got to get strong our own ethics and virtue. Really, really. And that's what we do in private in the morning every day when we've got that nice window of opportunity. And then from I think of it as like fierce care. We're fiercely caring. So that includes for the troublemakers. That doesn't mean that we go, yeah, whatever you say is right. No, what they're doing is wrong and it's harmful and it's destructive. Racism is not okay. But we're going to separate out the person from the racist. Sounds simple, but oh my gosh, I just come back to that again and again and again. So incidentally, this is why the Buddha's golden. Because the Buddha's a non-racist Buddha. Buddha has no skin color. Buddha's not white, black, brown, nothing. Buddha is golden. It's wonderful, isn't it? And then in the rainbow body, the Buddha's rainbow color, whatever color necessary. But, right there, when we think of the Buddha, no racial identity at all, no racial profiling, just enlightenment profiling. And so when we look at the Buddha and we look at an image of the Buddha and we think this is a reflection of my nature. And so included in that is below the skin color and everything, all of the historical baggage that comes with skin color. Below that is golden. So on a worldly level, below the skin, flesh and blood, same as everybody else. On an ultimate level, below the skin, enlightenment, enlightened potential, everybody. So if we can remember that, everybody has Buddha nature buried somewhere in amongst all the gunk, then we can legitimately call out all that gunk and rubbish for what it is, because we're not slurring the person. I kind of think that's where left-wing politics falls down a bit, is calling things out for what they are and being fiercely caring. Probably we just get a bit lazy in our conducive conditions, isn't it? Once we pray for conducive conditions, then we have them. Everything's right and perfect for me to do Dharma, and then we just get a bit lazy, a bit sidetracked, because it's easy to. Well, we've got about 10 minutes, so I wanted to do a meditation at the end of each of our sessions together, and so I think today we're going to do the karma gardening meditation, because we've been talking about karma, cause and effect. So great how you brought in those 4 parts of an action and what makes a complete action, and the rejoicing part, even though it's one of those 4 parts, it's more than a quarter. It's quite a big one. So let's tie it all together with a meditation on karma. So take a nice deep breath, allow your body to settle into a comfortable position. As you exhale, let go of any tension and distractions, creating a space for growth and understanding. And set an altruistic intention to cultivate wisdom about karma and its role in your spiritual journey towards refuge and enlightenment. So you, the gardener in your life, imagine You're carefully selecting seeds to plant in the vast field of your mind. And these seeds that you're selecting represent your actions, thoughts, intentions. Each one has the potential to grow into your future experiences. Every seed you plant, whether virtuous or non-virtuous, will inevitably sprout and bear fruit in your life. You have these seeds in your hand and you look, some are a bit plain, others are very decorated, and some are gnarly and sharp. Do those seeds indicate the future fruit? If we're looking at one of those gnarly seeds, is it going to have a gnarly fruit? If we look at a pretty seed, like a castor oil, does it have a beneficial fruit? And what about those boring ones? Are the results boring? How much do we know about these seeds? Maybe it's like planting apple seeds and expecting oranges. But our experience always corresponds to the nature of our actions. So how might understanding the law of cause and effect influence the choices we make in our daily life? Recognizing the power of karma encourages us to be more mindful of our thoughts, of what we say, what we do. It's like a gardener becoming acutely aware that every seed planted will contribute to the overall harvest. So can you recall time when a past action, like a long forgotten seed, unexpectedly bore fruit in your life? These things that we are grateful for, they too had their seed. These experiences illustrate the far-reaching effects of our actions, emphasizing the importance of cultivating positive karma. It's like discovering some beautiful flowers blooming in your garden that came from a seed you planted years ago and had forgotten. So look around in your karma garden and rejoice at those flowers. And mindful of the long-term future results. Ask yourself, how might infusing your virtuous actions with wisdom and bodhicitta change the fruits of your karmic seeds? So in your daily life, strive to plant seeds of virtue, guided by wisdom and compassion, nurturing them with the intention of benefiting beings, watering them with your compassion, make a firm determination to educate yourself about those karmic seeds so we can recognize what seeds are poisonous, what seeds lead to poisonous fruit, what seeds lead to a bounteous harvest that benefits everyone. And this may not be so obvious at the beginning, to really distinguish at the beginning how to tell virtue from non-virtue. Make a determination to sort out seed by seed what are virtuous thoughts, ones that result in future happiness, and what are the poisonous seeds mixed in there that contaminate the entire crop. And then dedicate all of your efforts to carry this understanding of karma as you continue to tend your beautiful garden of your life, and that your whole life can become a refuge, place of safety and beauty for all living beings. And that by traveling along the path to enlightenment, quickly, may we be able to provide that beautiful karma garden, the perfect mandala for the safety and rest of all sentient beings. So take a nice deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the lovely field of your mind, your beautiful karma garden. Make sure you spend some time in the lovely corners of it. Keep cultivating it. And thanks, Steph, for your final question and story about Cambodia. That was really nice. Lovely place to jump off from. Until next week, everybody, take care. So lovely to catch up with you all, and I hope to catch up with you again in one short week's time.